Welcome. Hope everyone had a great day today. I actually myself just made it at the close call. I usually do this around 8 p.m. It's hard for me to make like a 6 p.m. Live session. I literally just walked in the door 5 minutes ago, ran down. So tonight, this is the Living in Utah question and answer, Utah events, Utah news. Any questions you might have, bring them on. I love the state of Utah. I love living here, and I love doing events like this, trying to help anybody and anybody out. The reason I brought it forward this evening was because of the debate with President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. So I figured I really can't compete with them. They're going to get millions of views. I will not get nowhere near that. So great day in Utah today. The weather's changing just a little bit. It was a nice day, but this evening we are supposed to drop temperatures a little bit through the weekend. So everybody's out enjoying the last moments of 70-degree weather for this particular week. It might bump back up next week. Who knows? But anyways, bring your questions. I do have some questions myself. So I got a question from somebody that asked, where did the earthquake hit? So earthquakes in Utah are, I would say, unusual. I don't know of many earthquakes. We've had a little bit of rumblings from time to time. We're not a heavy earthquake state as per se. Typically, I have understood that the fault line runs along the east bench from Ogden all the way through to Provo. Well, we had an earthquake a few months ago in the middle of the coronavirus, and it actually hit in a city called Magna. Magna is located in Salt Lake County. It is pretty much the northwest corner of Salt Lake County, I would refer to it as. So that's where it hit. It did affect the airport. The airport is close by. It actually rumbled quite a distance. The shockwaves were felt even at my household. It was my first time. I thought something was wrong. I was coming up the stairs in the garage, and I was shaking real bad. And I got in the house, and I said to the wife, something's not right. I just keep shaking. And I thought I had a medical problem. I couldn't get my balance. So it did affect me too. It was definitely a time. One of my rentals was involved in the earthquake a little bit. They received some water damage. We had a pipe that cracked because of the earthquake. Well, to top that off, we were in the middle of the coronavirus, and that particular household was under lockdown because of someone who had contracted the coronavirus when it first started. So I couldn't access the home at that particular time. You didn't know what was safe. You didn't want to touch anything. It's probably about a month into the coronavirus, I would say. So there was this big scare. So they had to put a bucket underneath it. Anyways, we eventually got over there a couple of weeks later and managed to fix the pipe. It wasn't as damaged as I had originally thought, but anyways, it did do a little bit of damage. It was quite a time. Okay, so the earthquake was in Magna, Utah. Last week I mentioned about someone who was coming from Europe and where they would visit, and I got a question about that, an email, and I guess it was a little bit confusing to people who are not from this area. As I listened to the way I explained it, made it sound like everything I recommended was in the state of Utah. And I just wanted to explain that a little bit. I recommended going down to the Grand Canyon. So the Grand Canyon is actually in Arizona. I also recommended Las Vegas, which would be in Nevada. The other cities I mentioned, like St. George, Park City, Salt Lake City, is all in Utah. The national parks that I mentioned are all in Utah. Then I did mention Island Park. Island Park is in the state of Idaho. And I also mentioned Jackson Hole. Jackson Hole primarily, Yellowstone area, Jackson Hole, Jackson Hole, Wyoming is in Wyoming, but I mentioned Yellowstone National Park. It's predominantly in Wyoming. Part of it is in Idaho and part is in Montana, but predominantly in Wyoming. So I just want to clear up a little bit of confusion there. When I listened to it again, it made it sound like, from an outsider's point of view who's not familiar with the state, that all those particular cities I'd mentioned were in the state of Utah, and they're not in the whole state of Utah. So I just talked to somebody today, and they were asking me about moving options. They are moving from the East Coast, and what I'd recommend for moving options. Well, there's about 3 different ways to move. Would be you get a moving company. They come pack everything up, put it in a truck, bring it out to Utah, unload it for you into your new place, and off you go. You can rent a truck from companies like U-Haul, Budget, Penske, load the truck yourself, get in, drive it out here, unload it into your new home. And then there's a third option that's becoming popular now, and they're called pods. There's a few different companies that do them. I believe U-Haul is getting into the pod business also. I've seen some around. I think it's from them. And they bring it's like a mini storage container type of device. They unload it from a truck in your driveway or your yard, wherever you want to put it on the street. You load everything you have into it. They will come pick it up, and they will take it to your new destination. That is also an option. As far as disadvantages with some of these here, I've heard that the pods, there is a time frame. So like if you load it up today and you need it delivered on Monday in your new state, that might be a challenge for them to do logistically. Where like if you had a self move where you rented a U-Haul, you're on your own time frame, so you could make your own time zone. Okay. So that was some of the questions that I recently received. Going to be a short one probably tonight. I know everybody's trying to watch the election. But as far as news that's going on in Utah, we are still under a mask mandate. The numbers are not looking good. It seems to be similar around the country, as what I can tell. So pretty much the whole state isn't under a mask mandate, but some of the cities or counties that if you were to visit is southern Utah, St. George area, all along the Wasatch Front here from Provo all the way up to Logan, Utah, all under mask mandate at the current time. So also Park City is under a mask mandate. So quite a few areas. And so if you're traveling here, have a mask. So the other news we had, and it was kind of good news. There was a hiker down in Moab, Utah, that I believe took a hike by themselves. They were with a group of people, but decided to take a hike by themselves, did not return. They launched search and rescue and volunteers and everything. And they kept looking and looking and looking for this lady. She was out of California. Well, they did find her alive after 12 days. What I've understood is they feel she might have hit her head or something like that for some of that time period, but they did find her. Great news. Great news. So another thing that's come up in Utah here, the state has put their name in to hold a future Winter Olympics. They held the Winter Olympics in 2002, but they would like to hold it again. It was a great event for the state of Utah. I absolutely enjoyed it. It's a memory I will never forget. Got to go to some of the downhill racing and some other events, and even some of the celebration parties that were held in Salt Lake City. We went to a few of them. I couldn't understand the language. Like we were in the German one. I didn't understand the language, but the celebration, and they brought the athletes out and with their medals and everything. So I got to go to the United States, Germany. I think we saw Austria. We dropped in a few of those different events. Great time in my life. But the state of Utah is putting their name in to host another Winter Olympics. And they've just released what the estimated cost of the Olympics will be. And it's $1.35 billion. It seems as if everything no longer costs $1 million. It's all in the billions of dollars now. So $1.35 billion. I was kind of shocked about that. The last Winter Olympics, very success, did not leave the state in debt. I know some countries around the world have been financially crippled when they've held an Olympic event. Utah was not like that. We did get a lot of federal money. They did bump the gas tax up a little bit to pay for some of the Olympics. I believe at the time it was like 5 cents a gallon. And as far as I know, that was never taken off. But they would like to hold the Olympics again. Probably they're talking about 2030, 2034 or beyond. But that would be a great time. I would love to have the Olympics here again. So, what's happening in Utah? We do have quite a few events going on with the coronavirus. Kind of shocked, actually, but we do have some things that are happening. It seems like the people are trying to continue on and with tradition. So there has been, when we talking next weekend with Halloween, there's been a push not to have Halloween, but it seems as if the vibe we're feeling, the kids are still going to be out. And I went and bought candy. To me, it was a big tradition. I loved Halloween as a kid. I want to do Halloween this year, so I'm all for it. What requires to purchase a house in Utah? What's required? Well, if you live currently in the United States, the requirements are pretty much the same as every other state. There's nothing that's abnormal in the state of Utah on purchasing a home, so the requirements are the same. It requires a certain credit score depending on which loan program that you are looking at. If you're trying to get a zero down, so there'll be no money out of pocket at closing, typically requires a higher credit score. Some loans require 3% down on a mortgage. So it really depends on which loan program you're looking at. And apart from that, you can also pay cash if you'd like. But so it's based off of, so as in general terms, for most states, it's based off your income, your debt to income ratio, what your total income is, your credit score, and from there you are pre-approved for a certain amount, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. That's it in a nutshell. One moment. Okay, I'm back. I was losing some of my light. I had natural light coming through the window and had to turn on some lights here. Getting a little dark. Okay, any particular question I didn't explain on the purchase of a house? So, October 23rd in Ogden, Ghosts of Ogden. There's on 25th Street in Ogden. They are having a Halloween walking tour, ghost tour. So if you're in that area, you might want to check it out. This next event is an event I would like to go and see. On October 24th, they have Meet the South Ogden Fire Department. So in South Ogden, Utah, you have a chance to go and meet the fire department. If you've got kids, I would say go. I'm thinking about stopping by myself I don't ever recall in my lifetime I've ever had the opportunity to be inside a fire truck or walk around or, the inner workings of a fire truck or a fire station. I'm interested in that myself, actually. I'm going to try to stop by. So if you have access to Hill Air Force Base on the 24th, they are doing a 5K run. It's taken off from the Warrior Fitness Center up on Hill Air Force Base. If you do not have a base ID to get on the base, you would not be allowed access to the base typically. So as we go down towards Salt Lake area, they have Nightmare on 13th Street. This is a legendary haunted house. It's there every year. It's on 320 West, 1300 South in Salt Lake City. It is a Utah tradition. So if you like haunted houses, this is the place to go. Nightmare on 13th is what they call it. Great haunted house. Another thing that's still going on October the 24th in Salt Lake City, the farmers market. We don't have many more weekends left of the farmers market, but they are holding one on October 24th, and that's held at the Utah State Fair Park. Also on October 24th, down in Provo, there is a Halloween drive-through carnival. Kind of interesting. They're trying to do something that's kind of coronavirus safe with the high numbers that they have, but it's being held at the Provo Rec Center if you're interested. Also on the same day, October 24th in Provo, there is a farmer's market also down there in Pioneer Park. Now, Ogden does hold a farmer's market, but I'm not too sure if that is still going at the current time. They did close it down for a few weekends, and I don't know what the latest on that is. Okay, this evening, any more questions I can help you with? Everybody's watching the debate tonight. So that's one question that I typically don't answer is politics. I can never seem to win. People are steadfast red or blue, and I try to avoid that whole subject. But I will say one thing, though. After watching the vice presidential debate, I just kind of felt that Harris and Pence should probably be our nominations for president. The way they present themselves, I really liked it. Both of them during the vice presidential debate, I just felt that maybe both of them would do their parties a better justice. So that's just my opinion. But we do not have that choice for president at the current moment. So hope everyone will take care, stay safe. I'll be back next weekend, though, at 8 p.m. on Thursday. Unless they decide to throw in another presidential debate next Thursday, but I plan on 8 p.m. You can also reach me by email, text, whatever you need. I'd be glad to answer any of your questions. I have a new video coming out this Saturday.